Hello friends, welcome back to Invest with Ara. In my previous video, we had learned about how to pull option chain data of multiple stocks onto an Excel spreadsheet. In the very video, there were some errors or say bugs reported by various users. Today, we'll be addressing those bugs and further we'll try to make the program much more simpler and efficient. So let's start with the program. The first part in the program is to get the URL of each of the stocks of which option chain data needs to be pulled. Today we'll be taking two stocks. So first we'll go to an internet browser. We go to NSE India website, and under live market we go to equity derivatives. We click on option chain, and here we could see the option chain data of Nifty for the week ending on 13 June 2019 is visible. Now I prefer mostly monthly data, so I'll be taking here 27 June 2019 as the option chain of Nifty. Now we could see here the option chain data for Nifty for the month of June is visible, and we simply go to the URL and copy the URL. Now we go to Excel spreadsheet, and on row 1 of column A with a prefix URL and a semicolon, we paste the URL that was copied of Nifty for the month of June 2019. And on to row 1 of column B, we simply name the stock or the index. So we'll put it Nifty here. Now we again go to internet browser, and now let's take another stock. We could take any stock, so let's take say Yes Bank. We click on go. Now we could see here that the Yes Bank data, option chain data for the month of June, which ends on 27 June 2019, is available. We simply go to the URL and we copy it. Then we go to Excel spreadsheet. Onto row 2 of column A with the prefix URL semicolon, we simply paste the URL of Yes Bank, and onto row 2 of column B we name the company or the stock. Now we again go to the internet browser and take Nifty 27 June data. Now because we will be coding the program entirely on this URL, so we need this URL for further process. Now we go to Excel. Now we could see here, because we are taking only two stocks, we have taken the URL of both of the stocks. Now the first part of our program is complete. Now we'll be defining macros. In my last video we had defined a single macro wherein we had pulled, aligned and replaced. Here we'll be doing the same thing, but we'll be defining separate macro for each of the tasks. Now first we'll try to pull the option chain data. For option chain data we'll be using macro. Now in my last video also I told you that we need developer tab here for running a macro or recording a macro. So to have that developer tab in this ribbon, we go to Office button and we go to Excel options. Under the popular tab you can see here a box with show developer tab in the ribbon. So you simply select this box and click OK. So you could see the developer tab here. Now we go to developer tab and we click on record macro. Now we could see here record macro tab is open. Now by default it has given the macro name, which is macro 1. Not to get confused, we simply change the name to option pull and click OK. So our macro has started recording. Now we need to pull data, so we'll be pulling it from an external source. So we go to external data and from web. Now there is a new web query tab raised by the Excel, and we simply go to the address bar and paste the URL of Nifty that we had copied and click on go. You could see the yellow box here. We click on this yellow box, it turns into a green tick. Now we go to options and we select the rich text formatting only, and we disable any sort of date recognition and web query redirections. Now we click on OK and we import. Now we could see here another tab with import data. It is asking us to where to put the data to, but before that we click on properties tab. Now few of the users wanted the option chain data to refresh automatically after a certain interval of time. Now for that we have this option here, refresh every 60 minutes. Now if a user needs a data to be refreshed after say 10 minutes, he could put here as 10 minutes. But for the sake of program, because we are coding right now, after 5 minutes if it gets refreshed, then we'll have problems associated to that. So what I'll do here is I'll keep it as 60 minutes, and later on I'll show you a way to reduce this 60 minutes to 5, 10 or 15 or 20 as per your liking. Now we deselect the edges column width and we click on OK, and we provide the Excel a cell, say row 1 of column A of sheet 2. So we'll simply click on OK, and we could see that the option chain data is being pulled, and it has been pulled. Now this is a redundant sort of data wherein we could not use it for our purpose. So we'll have to first align this data properly and then turn this dashes into 0. We could go to NSE India website. We could see here that these dashes are actually 0, but while pulling the data onto Excel spreadsheet, it turns into dashes which are redundant to us. So we'll be replacing this. So we again go to sheet 1 and we go to developer tab and stop recording. Now our first macro, which is of option pool, is created. Now we simply create a button here and we simply paste a button here. Now we'll assign the button 1 the option pull macro, and we'll rename the button to option pull. Okay. Now because these data are redundant and not aligned properly, we need to align that. Now in my last video we had actually defined the entire thing onto this single button, that is one single macro. Now for alignment we'll be using a different macro. Now many times it happens that when the data gets refreshed, the alignment changes into default option pulling alignment. So it becomes very difficult or frustrating for many of us to again align those manually. So instead of putting that thing onto one macro, I have decided to get another macro for alignments. Say after every 5 minutes, if you want the alignment to be done, you only need to simply create a button and click on it for to get it aligned. We'll see it how it happens. So first we'll go and we'll record a macro, and we'll name the macro as align. Now the macro is created. Now we simply go to sheet 2 and align it as per our liking. First I'll scroll it down. We'll not be needing column A and column B, so we'll simply delete it. Now we need these data, so we'll merge it. We go to home tab and select the merge and center. Now we don't need 2 to 8 row, so we simply delete it. Now we need to border this, so we'll simply take extra number of rows and go to bordering, all borders, and we'll select the style as comma. Now still you could see here that these dashes have not changed. These dashes are dashes and you cannot add 2 dashes, so these are redundant data. But here we had actually defined a macro for alignment, so our macro for alignment is complete, and we go to sheet 1 and we simply stop the recording. Now we could see here, we will put another button here and we'll align, give the button to the macro align. So here it is align. Okay, now our alignment macro is also created. Now what happens whenever you pull an option chain data and after every 5 minutes, say it gets refreshed, you don't need to again click on option pull. You only need to click on alignment, so that after every 5 minutes, if the entire background is refreshed, you only need to click on align, so that it will automatically get aligned. Now we need to have these dashes turn into 0, so we'll again define another macro for that. Say find and replace. So we have defined a macro. Now we could see it's been recording. We again go to sheet 2 when we press Ctrl F. Now last time when we had actually changed these dashes into 0, that is what we did here was we put find dash and replace it with 0. So what it actually did, there was a bug here, so what it actually did, it converted even the negative values to positive. So to make sure that the negative values are not changed to positive, we simply go to options here and we select this match entire cell contents. So now what will happen is that if a cell contains only a single dash, then only that dash will be converted into 0 and not the negative values. So we'll go and we'll simply select replace all. Now here you could see this -1050 is -1050 and it has not changed, so our program is correct. Now our find and replace part is also complete. Our macro is created and we'll stop the recording. Again we'll provide a button here and we'll simply assign the button 3 a macro find and replace, and we'll also write here find and replace. Now our coding, most of the coding part is complete. Now we need to automate this data. For that we'll be needing to edit those coding as per our requirement. So what we'll do is we'll one by one edit entire coding of this program. Before that we'll change certain things. First we'll change the name of sheet 1 to options. Now we'll not be needing sheet 2 and sheet 3, so we'll be simply deleting the sheets. Okay, now we'll go to macro. Now we'll first edit the option pull macro because we need to automate it to number of stocks. So we'll be coding here, and please bear with me for the coding part. and type exactly what is being typed. So first we'll define a for loop for x equal to 1 2 2. Now because I've taken two stocks, I'm using only values 2. You can select it, or you can have n number of values there. Now we need to select the worksheets, so we'll be selecting the options worksheets dot select. Now we have selected the worksheet or the option worksheet. Now we'll activate that worksheet. So that any values is being taken from that worksheet. So activate. Now we need to define a string, so I'll take my str as a string and I'll assign the URL of Nifty. So I believe I had copied it, so yes, it's been copied, and I'll put the entire thing into inverted commas. Now my str has taken that value, and simply I'll ask the program to go and search for rows with value x and column A. Okay, now we'll need to define another string and integer, so we'll simply type dim str as string, I as integer. So now we need to start a for loop for I equal to x. We are taking this for loop to define the newly created sheets as per the name of the stocks. So we'll define str to take the values which is stored in rows of column B, and we'll ask them to take the value. We'll ask the program to take the value to it. Now we'll close the for loop for I with the next I. Now we need to provide, or we need to give the name to the newly created sheet. For that we'll add this coding, worksheets dot add, and then after worksheets dot count dot name equal to str. Now with this command, every newly created worksheet will be named the corresponding name of the stock stored in the column B. Now we come to this part. We only need to delete this. We only need to delete this URL, and in place of that we need to put my str, which is carrying that value, and we don't need this sheet too because we have already deleted that sheet, so we'll simply delete it. Now here likewise I told you that we could edit the refreshing period. So here when you see here, it is given as 60, so it was 60 minutes there. Now you could change it to 5, 10, 15, 20 as per your liking. Over here you don't need to every time go and redefine that. You could simply change the numbers here. Now we go to the end width, and we don't need this part, so we'll simply delete it. And because we had created for loop for x, we need to end that for loop as well with next x. Now our programming for option pull is complete, and we'll simply close it. Now we'll again go to macro, and we need to have the align macro to be automated. So we'll click on align and edit. Now here also a simple coding is required. Here we could have for x equal to 1 to 2. Now again we are taking two stocks, and here we'll take worksheets, options dot select, again worksheets, options dot activate. Then we'll define another for loop, but before that we need to define the string. So dem str as string, I as integer, and again a for loop for I equal to x to x. Then we'll again ask the program to take the sheets which are named as per their stocks. So cells I comma 2 dot value, and we'll simply close the for loop for I with next I. Now here, because sheet 2 is taken, we know we have deleted that sheet 2, so every time it is there it will give you an error, so instead put str. Now we go down and we check for any sheet 2 errors. Okay, so here we don't have any sheet 2, but here there is sheet 1. Now we have named the sheet 1 to options, so we'll not be needing this. Now because we had created for loop for x, we need to end it with next x. It's done. Now our part for align is also complete. Now we need to automate the find and replace part. We again go to macro, find and replace, and edit. Now here, instead of typing everything, we simply go to find and replace, and we copy this part till sheet str.select and copy it. Again we come here to find and replace and select the sheet part and simply paste it. So it's done. Now we go down to check whether we have sheet 1 or sheet 2 error. So here there is sheet 1 error, so we'll simply delete it. And because we have created for loop for x, again next x, and our programming is complete totally. So we'll simply okay, now our coding is complete for the entire program. So before testing, we should first save the program to its required format. So it is an macro enabled workbook, so Excel macro enabled workbook. We could name it as option pull program. I'll be putting it on desktop so it is easily available. Save. Okay, now we need to check our program whether it's working or not. So we'll simply click on option pull. Our option pull macro is working fine. Now we click on align. Our align macro is also working fine. And now find and replace. Now our find and replace macro is also working fine. Now this type of different macros actually help us a lot. Now I'll demonstrate why it is useful. So what we'll do is first we'll delete the sheets which were created. Okay, and now we go to developer tab and macro and go to option pull. Now if you could remember that we had kept a 60-minute refresh time, so instead of 60 minutes we'll put it as 1. So after every 1 minute the entire sheets will get refreshed with new data. Now you'll not be getting new data at this point of time, but in the live market after every 1 minute new data will be pulled. So now we'll simply click on option pull. Now we could see that option pull data has been pulled. It's working fine, and it is with the refresh period of 1 minute. Now we'll click on alignment. Now it's been aligned, and now find and replace. Now it's done. Now within a minute this entire data will automatically pulled out, so we'll only need to wait for a minute. We could have n number of macros for such things. Now see that it has automatically got refreshed. Now again the entire data turned into a redundant data, which is not at all useful. Now what could be done? We could even go for yes bank. You could see that it's actually redundant to use these values. Now every time in my last video, in the last program, we had actually defined the entire thing onto single macro, and we couldn't have this separate thing. Now we don't need to pull the option pull data because it has already been refreshed. We only need to click on alignment and it's done. Okay, it's actually done. Now again go to find and replace, and it's done. So hope you might have liked this video. If you have liked this video, kindly like, share and subscribe. Please do comment in the comment section below for any further queries or bug report or any other ideas. Thank you.